Well, for all of you that are joining me right now, my name is Janet. Janet Ung. I am a lead concept artist at Hanger 13. And today I'll be talking about championing art and artists, but I want to kind of give um, my short bio and like kind of like how I started in the industry and how I got to becoming like the lead at Hanger 13, and also like what I do at Hanger 13. But so yeah, like I started as a kind of like a junior concept artist actually, for Bungie. I started like about 8 years ago, um, coming straight from school. I actually never graduated school, so not many people know that about me. But I got a job right away, with Bungie working on Destiny, and it's a big AAA game. And from there, they hired me on. Like my work, and I really love the team that got involved, and I learned from there that there are two types of concept artists. I learned that there is um, uh, the inspirational concept artist that does the mood pieces, and they do like kind of the establishing shot of the environment, all that stuff that kind of gives the layout for the environment team to kind of block out stuff. And I am the production concept artist. So what I do is I really detail out and work out what things would look like and how they're built. Like I really think about that. I've been trained to kind of basically be that person. So for example, like an armor piece and stuff like that, I get art direction from the art director about where he actually generally wants it to go, and I think about how the armor was put together, built, the shapes, you know, um, what kind of materials, because what kind of materials also indicate how it was built, like how was it manufactured, what was it like sculpted, or was it like vacuum formed, or all this stuff, right? Like, so that's kind of like my job. And throughout the industry, like I've always been hired as a production concept artist, right? So then after that, I got a job. Well, I got a job doing mobile games after Destiny, because I actually was really curious about mobile games, and I loved that. But then I missed AAA games, so then I went back to do Halo 5. Worked with a really great team there at Halo 5. Um, I learned a lot there about design as well. And the thing about design is that every studio has their kind of key takeaways and their philosophy about design. But like just knowing the fundamentals of design will help you kind of, you know, get in tune with like the art direction and all that stuff, and how you could go about hitting the mark for the art directors and stuff like that. But yeah, I worked on Halo 5. After that, I went to Amazon Games, where I stayed for quite a while. And Amazon Games is kind of where I learned like more of my leadership skills and stuff like that. I was in various projects there. A lot of it hasn't been out because we did a lot of like R&D work, but yeah, learned a lot of skills there. Working with people, with a team, being more like responsible for concepts and even scheduling and all that stuff. And then that led me to becoming a lead role in Ubisoft Massive. Ubisoft Massive, I was on Division 2, the latest DLC, and then I got moved to doing Avatar. So I can't talk about those games really, but like I really enjoyed my time there. The team was great. Learned a lot of stuff, but then yeah, decided like, hey, like I really would like to also have more experience. In a certain type of game and stuff like that. So I got a job at Hangar 13, which I'm so blessed to have because the team is great here. And yeah, so my lead role here at Hangar 13, um, which I'll talk about in a minute, is pretty nice. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, as I'm gonna basically be talking about today, you have a role as a lead basically in the games industry and as a concept artist, and what I think it takes to be a good lead or a good manager. But that's from my personal experience and also my personal take on it. But my role at Hangar 13. So a brief overview. Of course, like all leads, they take care of HR stuff and all that stuff. But my role specifically with my team is to work as a second eye for my concept artist work. So my concept artist, we'll go through like every day we'll have stand up and we'll go through the tasks that they've been doing, all that stuff. And I'll also tell them my tasks as well, right? Because I still do some art in between meetings and stuff like that. I don't have that many, but like I still do art and work as a second eye. So, go through like what they've done, look through it, see if it like is in the right direction for the art director. Sometimes, like I'll see like, oh, actually we missed this thing, or actually the design for, let's say, a chest is a little bit weird. Let's look at reference and let's look that over a bit. And I'll give some paint overs or just like talk with the team about it. And when I feel like, oh yeah, it's good, it's ready to go for the art director, that's when I say, okay, let's bump it to the art director. Um, and for me, this saves time for the art director, right? Because the art director has to take care of like literally the whole world, from environments, character, UI, VFX, all that stuff. Like it cuts time for him so that he sees what is essential, basically, right? So whatever feedback he gives, it's more fine-tuned. I also champion my artist's work, and I try to uplift their mood, and I also provide structure for the team. So what that means is like, I really, really care about like what my artists are interested in, and I really try to get to know them. I genuinely try to get to know them and be friends with them, because I think that's what makes a good manager. I'm not really keen on like, I'm the manager and all that stuff, but like I think that's great. And Hangar 13 is such a fantastic place because everyone gives respect to everybody else. And I just love this team so much because we all take good care in genuinely getting to know a person, being friends with them, and I think that makes a workplace really great. Yeah, uplifting the mood. Sometimes like we're artists and we're we're very like sensitive creatures. We love our art so much, and sometimes yeah, there are days where you feel like, oh, my art isn't as good as I would like it to be, but like I like to remind everyone that we're in the learning process, right? You're not always going to be perfect, but if you try, you do good work. And providing structure for the team. So that said, like, making sure that we have stand up, making sure the tasks are there, that there are backlog tasks and all that stuff. But anyway, basically that's the gist of it. So throughout all this, I think the most important thing being a lead is to provide guidance, right? And I think there are a lot of things I feel that would make you a good lead or manager. But here are some things that I just want to talk about very quickly. And it's like a very quick overview, but like giving respect, like being humble, and yeah, show interest in the work that you do. So having the knowledge of like, let's say AAA pipeline, like I have a really strong knowledge of that because I've been through so many AAA, studios. Like I know how that works. I know the pipeline. I know how it should flow and how it should function. Not saying that there's like one specific way a team should do it, um, but generally speaking, there is like, a flow to things. And if you're in mobile games, you would learn about mobile games and how it works there. And if you're into video, like film and all that stuff, there's different ways that they work there. But for me, it's AAA games. But yeah, I'm just going to talk really quickly about the guidance aspect and like respect and all that stuff like that. So like I think it's really important for me, number one, to be like humble. So what that means is that you don't know everything, right? For me, it's very, very important. I like to remind myself often, and if I don't remind myself often, it can cause some issues, but that you don't know everything, and I don't know everything. But I try my best. And as a lead, right, of course you have enough experience to guide your team in the right direction and all that stuff, but you have to be flexible and you have to also be willing to take feedback yourself. And I think that makes me a stronger lead, actually. Because this vulnerability kind of shows my team, hey, listen, like, like I'm not perfect, but I try my best. And in turn, like my teammates trust me more. They do. And they also like, they're more open to telling me when problems arise, right? Because they trust me, which I like because, sometimes like um if it's like a production issue, then we can fix it. If it's other issues, then we can take a look at it, right? But I really like to know these things to make it a safe workplace. And Hanger is great at that. So it's honestly, it's been smooth sailing here. Um we get along so well and there's no issues, and everyone trusts me and I trust them enough to like do the work well and on time and all that stuff. But yeah, that's just from my past experience and stuff like that. I think it's really great to show that you're humble. And I really like to encourage my artists to try new things sometimes. Like, for example, like if you're a character concept artist and sometimes you're like, well, I really want to do environment concept art, right? And and I know you might not be the most experience at it and stuff like that. But if you really want to try, like, we'll find some room in the schedule once it's not like overburdened to like help you do that, right? And like having these compromises, I think is very healthy for the team. But yeah, I think humbleness is a really great trait to have. But also respect. So listening to others, like I do that often. Um, I I just I think it's really good to listen to others, and especially when, like as artists sometimes, and actually most of the time, sometimes there's things you're gonna say like, oh, I can't do I can't possibly do this painting because X, Y, and Z, right? We've all had that where we're like, oh, like I actually can't do something where, you just feel like you don't believe in yourself or whatever. But I like to listen to my teammates when this does happen, because like it's room for growth and to kind of learn like, okay, why exactly do you feel that way? How can we help the process, right? And for example, like giving this respect to your team um, really facilitates growth and learning, which I found out. Like in the past, there's been like plenty of times where a teammate will come up to me and be like, "Oh, I don't think I can finish this," and we'll work through it. But like I've always seen growth, and I'm always proud of that. Um, and yeah, like loving what you do, right? And be interested in what others love as well. Like I said before, having a strong knowledge of the AAA pipeline is really, really good, but also like having a genuine like interest in your teammates' work, what they like and what they don't like, because everyone's different. Some people will like character art, and a character artist might like a certain type of fashion designer, but not like another. And it's actually very insightful if you ask and you sit down with them. You go, oh, like why? What do you think about that? Why don't you think about that? Right? It's like learning the process. I think that's very important. I think it's very important for each and every one of us to learn our own process and how we think about the world, which kind of leads to perspective. Like, how do you see the world? What interests you? Why it interests you? And all that stuff. And then for you to actually also then ask, oh, how does someone else think about the world? What interests them and all that stuff? Because you're gonna get so many insights from different people and think about so many other things that you wouldn't have thought about and learn about. Right? I don't know if I have like, an example of that. I feel like I do have like an example of that. But in my personal life as well, I keep people, my closest best friends and stuff like that. We always have respect and for each other, and we're always talking about new ideas and new ways of going about it, right? But when it comes to work, let's say, like sometimes I'll give feedback. Um, and and sometimes some of my you know teammates will go, well, why did you give this feedback? Like, I don't understand this, and that's when it becomes important. You say, okay, well, I gave this feedback based on X, Y, and Z. It's always like data driven, right? And of course art is like subjective, right? So sometimes that can be a little bit weird too. But like if there's a general art direction, if there's also reference and all that stuff, you kind of guide them along that path, or at least I believe so. But then you give it you let them also express their creativity, right? So like I like to do that, but then I say, okay, like this would be along the right path, but come up with your own idea for along these guidelines with all the references and the shapes and the materials in mind. And generally that's good. But like I said, like sometimes when I've given feedback, some of the reports are like, oh, but actually I disagree because of X, Y, and Z. And first off, it's great that they can tell me they disagree. Like you want to be the kind of lead where your your teammates can tell you that, because then they trust you and you trust them, and it's awesome. Like you learn so much from it. And secondly, because of that, like sometimes a report will say, well, actually, but you know I think because X, Y, and Z, we should do it this way. And then I think about it, I'm like, actually, you're right. That's actually a really awesome idea, right? And being a lead, right? Of course, I have to get most things right. I have to guide my team, right? I do have to get most things right, right? But I really do feel like, yeah, it's great. I feel like I learned from my team a lot. They're amazing. Especially my team at Hangar 13. I really enjoy my time with them, and I always learn from them. And I really love it when they feel free to give their thoughts and stuff like that, because I learn from them a lot. And I actually really hope they know that I respect them quite a bit. I do. I really feel like being a lead, it's not that because you're not above anyone. I mean, contrary, like you're still doing the HR stuff and you're still doing all that stuff and you're still guiding and stuff like that. But like without my team, I wouldn't be there, right? Without my team, like it just like yeah, I wouldn't be there. So I'm really grateful. I have to say like I'm really grateful for my role at Hangar 13. I'm grateful for like my teams, my team. Like my team is really great. I'm grateful for their trust. I think it's been fast actually. So I'm really happy about that. But I'm also grateful for the team structure that we have here at Hangar 13 and all the leaders and stuff like that. All of us are able to tell each other, you know, when there are concerns and stuff like that. And yeah, we all listen. We all listen to it. And I think for me, at least, like it's easygoing here because it's so nice, right? But yeah, I strongly believe that like every place is different, and of course you're gonna hit challenges and stuff along the way. But if you can just keep your head up, even when sometimes things feel like a bit like down, I think that's a good way to look at it because it's all perspective, right? And remembering that like also, you know, sometimes if someone's having a hard day, it's not personal. I feel like it's like, you know, in the past I've had a lot of things where sometimes I'm like, oh, that hurt. But yeah, it's not personal. People have their own lives. People go through their own things, and yeah, we're all better for it in the end. But yeah, like my artists, I really encourage them, or I hope I do, like encourage them to do what they love, and I really try to make sure that they get the tasks that they want. I really hope that they know that too. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to leave it to questions now.
Hello, I'm here. I come and help do the questions.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the talk. It's really interesting to hear about what you do. So I was looking through the people that are watching as well, and saw that there's quite a lot who are trying to get into the industry as well, in the art side. Is there any sort of tips and sort of things that you would give to someone looking at into the games industry?
Yeah, I would say just concentrate on what you love on. So if you love characters, just full on do characters, right? You don't have to think too hard about like what you know, a company would want. Really, just think about that first. If you love environments, just do environments, right? Whatever style you love, just try to do that, and then you can sort of like tailor it a little bit to what company you want to go for.
Yeah,
But after that, actually, my biggest thing is just apply everywhere. Like it never hurts, right? I think people,
no,
yeah, get scared about it, but yeah, I think it just apply everywhere because you never know who's going to give you that you know, that first
the
job.
opportunity. Yeah, is it
Yeah.
important to have a portfolio ready for these people, for new people as well, for going to speak to different games companies and things? Presumably, you know, getting a wide variety of the stuff you can do is important as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to have it ready and stuff like that. But I think also it's important, like once like a company does talk to you about your portfolio and stuff like that, I think it's important to talk about your process and why you love it. Because actually, when I interview people,
Mhm.
um, I want to know that, right? So
Yeah.
that's very important. Yeah.
No, that's great. And you talked obviously about the team. I thought it was really interesting when you were saying about when people come to you and they're like, "Oh, I thought of it like this," and that's so interesting, isn't it? About how you can do that, and the fact of actually sometimes people come to you with the ideas that you never come up with, and it takes you guys all in a completely different direction. To me, that's really exciting because it sort of shows as well how you can be like do something in a game that can have such a big impact. And I think that's quite important when you're looking at the games. What sort of what are the types of, and within the type of workforce, presumably it's quite nice to have people from lots of different backgrounds. I mean, what's your team like now? Presumably it's made up of all different types of people.
Yeah, so my team, there's I have my awesome principal concept artist, and I have like my awesome junior concept artist, and they're from very different backgrounds, right? My principal has worked on Fable. He's freaking amazing. And so he comes from triple A background too, and he's done like a lot more stylized stuff that I haven't done. Like, I come from sci-fi video games, sort of like shooters and stuff like that, right? And my junior though, this is his first job, but he's like a Blender guru. Like, we go to him for everything Blender, and and he works so fast, and he also he has this love for historical castles and how things were built and all that stuff that really lends itself to design. So I think it doesn't, for me, I mean, experience matters, right? But then also the fact that my junior is, I don't know, I don't feel like he's a junior. Like, my junior is amazing because he brings in all the experience and knowledge that he like learned from himself, from his own interests that actually I learned from. Right. So yeah, that's my team right now. Yeah.
It's good. It's amazing to have these people with all the different sort of the backgrounds and interests, because that totally shapes everything. I've got a question from John Gordon, who said he's at the point where he's making really good advancements. So his portfolio feels like but his portfolio feels like it's constantly outdated. What is the opinion on keeping older work to show your progression? So to go from sort of where you've been to where you are
now. I honestly, I would only show the old work if you're proud of it, right? Because that is something like we actually look at. Like, I know some art directors can actually get like, not here, right? But like in the past, when I've worked with other art directors and stuff like that, they've been really picky about like, oh, why did you put this old piece in it and stuff like that. So be proud of it, because it's kind of a trick question, like, right? Like, it can be a trick question, but be proud of anything that you put in your portfolio. Be proud of it. Basically, it doesn't matter if it's old or new, but you just have to be proud of it.
Yeah. No, own everything, isn't it? Like, own it all. If you it's good. That's a great way.
Mm-hmm.
Alice Middleton has also asked a question as well, and said, as a lead, if you feel that someone in your team is struggling with confidence in themselves and their abilities, what would you do to try and boost it and perhaps help their productivity or enjoyment?
I have actually a lot of experience with this, actually. Not here, but I've had a handful of people in the past where, because all of us struggle with confidence, right? So number one, I actually tell my teams, not here, but in the past, I've told my team like, hey, I am weak at environments. I am. And I have told them I am not confident in environments. I plainly, I'm just very real with them, number one, so they feel like, okay, yeah, she's not going to judge me. Because I'm not going to judge them. And there are times where, when it comes to confidence, it goes back again to the listening and respect. I've had a lot of people that have struggled to the point where, like, sometimes they miss tasks, right? Which isn't, like, I just want to say that's not that great. You shouldn't do that. But yeah, I've had that time, and the thing with me is that I give my teammates that time if they're willing to work with me too. Like, I want to know why, like, they're losing that confidence. And I mean, I think that's very personal, but they've told me, and when I hear it, I think there are some key takeaways, I guess, like, without going to depth. Don't tell yourself you cannot do something. I find that's a common thread with everyone, and I used to do that too. I used to be like, oh, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z, but why? What says you might not be like the best, let's say, environment artist right now, but that does not mean you cannot do it, right? So just changing your perspective and changing the wording on that, I think, is really great. Also, second thing, I would like most people to do, and I tell my reports this as well, don't judge yourself. Like, I think people, we're so hard on ourselves, right? Like, we shouldn't have to be so hard on ourselves. Yeah, and everybody is, and me included. But a friend of mine actually told me this, and she was like, "Would you say the same things to kid Janet?" Right? So I think that's actually a really great thing. Imagine yourself as 10-year-old you. Would you say the things to you 10 years old? Would you say, "Oh, you cannot do this. Oh, you can't, don't even imagine that you can actually be great at this and all stuff." You wouldn't say that to yourself, right? So don't do it, right? Like, I think it's I think that actually helps. And then thirdly, I do also sometimes if they're struggling, let's say with the thought process and stuff, I'll walk them through the thought process, and then I'll actually sort of like do a quick demo, right? If they're like, "Oh, I really can't overlay the photo. I don't understand how to overlay the texture." And sometimes I've seen my teammates get so worked up, they'll just like kind of can't do anything, right? It's almost like they're frozen in time or something. And I sit down with them and say, "Okay, just watch me." And I don't say anything. I just talk about my processes, what I do. I do this overlay, blah, 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 blah. And then actually it works, right? They're like, "Oh, I see that it's not as this big, crazy, scary monster that I thought it was," right? And I think, yeah, going through those steps help.
No, that's great.
I think.
That's really good. Great process. I must admit, I'm ready to join your team, Janet. So I don't know about everyone else. I'm in.
That's really nice. Really nice of you. Yeah.
So Scarlett has also asked a question, which has said, "Thank you for the talk. And also, would you have any tips on promoting a more diverse team?"
I actually, no one's ever asked me that. I yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the networking thing is great, right? Like, getting to know more, yeah, women in games, right? And I know plenty, so I feel like, but I think yeah, having that outreach is great, and like different cultures and different backgrounds. And I myself, like, that's why I kind of moved to Europe, because I wanted to have like experience with different cultures and backgrounds, and I did. So I think that's great, because it really does open your views on the world and all that stuff, and I'm really grateful for that. So I think, yeah, pushing yourself to different circles and all that stuff, and learning where people come from.
I think that's great. It's great. Well, I think I have to ask, because you've worked on some amazing games. Is it mean to ask what the film was?
Oh man, I can't.
Or is that like choosing between the babies?
I think that's choosing. So that's choosing between babies. But I will say I love working here, right? I think as far as I could say where my favorite is in terms of growth. Yeah. I think in terms of just my concept art career and growth, it's maybe like 3 for 3 and Halo 5, because I had a lot of really tough just challenges and stuff like that. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about that, about perseverance and all that stuff. And then but in terms of projects, I love all my projects. I really do. So
that's good. It's good to do stuff that you love doing. Yeah. I mean, that's what you want. Yeah. It's the sort of golden egg of it all, goose, or whatever, to be able to do something and really enjoy it. So no, that's fantastic.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Janet, and for being part of the event today, and for telling us all about yourself and what's been going on, and Hangar 13 and everything. But yeah.